healthcare workers at my hospital, welcome you all. For Vigil, healthcare workers Gaza. Since microphone is not allowed in 500 feet of the hospital, not using microphone, I don't want to be arrested like that thing. Also don't want to be fired like in United States. So I'm not going to use the G word. So I don't know what other words somebody may not like. The only word Netanyahu used was mistake. When they attacked on April 1st, the van of World Central Kitchen and delivered to 7-8 workers, the only word he said was mistake. And when on May 27, they attacked the tents in Rafah, where the size of the JFK airport, over 1 million people are sheltered in designated safe zone. 45 people burned alive. It was a beheaded lady, and he said that was a mistake. Many of couple of colleagues could have come and speak to have their graduation, and they couldn't come. That reminds me of kindergarten graduation picture of Hindraja, who was trapped in car and along with her ambulance personnel that recently and rescued them also. Over 1 million children of Gaza, 51% population of Gaza is children under 18. Over 1 million children of Gaza are not seeing any graduation this year. Schools and universities are destroyed in this present school episode. I first would invite my colleague Jasmine to speak.
I'm Jasmine Sandhu, regional medicine. I feel like I'm going to trip over or something. You guys can hear me. As New York City healthcare workers, we experienced our own trauma during the pandemic. We know how it feels when a crisis overwhelms the healthcare system. People dying because of lack of beds, supplies, staff, but I can't imagine the chaos at the level which our colleagues are suffering. I can't imagine treating patients after witnessing your family dying in front of you and still have the strength and the mental capacity to treat your patients who are actively involved, dying with their perpetrators. So I urge you and beg you to call your representatives and demand to stop using our taxpayer money to fund this genocide. It is a genocide, I said the G word. And we will only accept permanent ceasefire. I would like to say a quote from our fallen heroes, Dr. Imam Ali A.S. Age 30, joined King's College London at 2019. He was awarded a highly prestigious scholarship and undertook the women's and children's health, which he completed the following year. Israel bombed his family home while they were sleeping, stuck under the rubble of a 6-story building for 60 hours. Reyes died along with his family, including his parents, sisters, nieces, and nephews. A message for him that was sent to his former classmates have been shared by the Justice for Palestine Society. He wrote, "In the last few days, I'm starting to feel more terrified than ever. I imagine myself underneath the rubber, and I have a great fear of staying alive until the rubble. May every martyr's words be a torch on the path for liberation. May we never forgive, may we never forget."
I have big blood stain on my mask and gloves. But this physician, Muhammad Ahmad Jode, he has real blood on his face. Blood of his daughter, blood of his brother, blood of his brother-in-law, both pharmacists, another relative who was getting married when Nusairat refugee camp was attacked on June 10th. 274 people were killed, 700 injured. Direct participation of US troops, paid by the tax dollars. Over 500 other persons beside that, hundreds are in custody. Many of the physicians are in custody. Head of orthopedic at Shifa Hospital, Dr. Imam Ali A.S. 4 months of detention, was beaten to death. Director of Kamal Adwan Hospital, OBGYN, Dr. Ayad Al-Rantisi, who are the patient of OBGYN, mostly pregnant women. Kamal had one hospital, and in 6 days of detention, he was tortured to death. And that was hidden for 6 months, until recently, Israeli newspaper reporting after 6 months. Recently, one of the trauma surgeons, Kings County Hospital, Dr. Simon Fitzgerald, along with trauma surgeon Dr. Firoz Silva, returned from Gaza, California. They did trauma plan kind of neighborhood. So that should be so he was doing telemedicine with a surgeon in Gaza, and their manuscript were accepted in Lancet for publication. And suddenly, Dr. Farkas disappeared on March 25th. And until today, there is no sign of his life. Dr. Silva used to know about multiple cases. There was a 29-year-old orthopedic nurse working in Indonesian hospital. When the idea made it all, he was shot in the femur, and his body anesthetized and put sternum fixator. He was in hospital. A week later, hospital was attacked again, and he was arrested. For 45 days, he was tied to the table, blindfolded the whole time. He was fed with a box of juice once every other day. He became so malnourished, it caused him paralysis. Due to torture's right eye closed rupture. After 45 days of detention, he was crawled for 2 months until he reached the University Hospital, where Dr. Silva found him in terrible condition. They made his presentation. I would only recommend only healthcare workers to do. During the 2 weeks prayed and sealed and total destruction of the hospital, 5 department chairs were executed. Orthopedic, emergency medicine, internal medicine, OB/GYN, nephrology. Head of nephrology was killed. Senior blood surgeon was killed. 300 people are found in mass grave. Plastic surgeon, Dr. Ahmed Mukhadmi, and his mother, Dr. Muslim Mukhadmi, they were found dead 2 weeks later outside the hospital. 28-year-old doctor without job orders, on the hospital. He was killed at the hospital. Dr. Asif Jamari, surgeon in Jilly, in West Bank. That's not part of Gaza. He was a surgeon going to the world. He was killed recently on May 31st. And the latest is just yesterday. Dr. Khan, the head of Gaza's ambulance and emergency, he was at medical clinic, was attacked, he was killed. On April 22nd, saw about in the home, they 30 weeks pregnant, Sabreen Sakani, while they were sleeping, their home was attacked in Rafah. Her husband, her 4-year-old daughter, and she herself was killed. While she was dying, they did emergency section and take the baby out, Sabreen Al-Noor. So she was premature, was put on incubator. Her grandmother, paternal grandmother, who lost a young son, she showed up and she said she named her Sabreen after the name of her mother, and her toddler sister wanted to name her Ruh, meaning spirit. So she named her, she said she will raise her in love. 2 days later, she passed away. She was scared. She was supposed to bomb them. So let's have a moment of silence and prayer for all the victims of Gaza who were killed, burned, drowned, starved to death, maimed, burned alive, eaten up by starving cats and dogs. للمستشهدين والمقتولين مستضعفين المظلومين.
Try to use my teacher voice. Let me know if you can't hear me. I think it's important we are doing this in front of a hospital. We're also doing this in front of a playground, which is where any child deserves to be able to live a life carelessly and just with fun and joy, and not have to worry about where the next meal is going to come from or where the next bomb is going to drop. And I think as an educator in New York City, it's important that we all recognize that it's not only the children of Gaza that are suffering for what the United States is doing. It's our own children here that are being sacrificed so that the U.S. could divert its funding to killing Palestinian children and healthcare workers. It is our own healthcare workers, our own teachers who work in underfunded facilities where we don't have the resources we need to care for the people that we're supposed to care for, because the U.S. would rather spend its money on killing people than protecting and helping our own. And
I'm Damian Archbold. I'm an anesthesiologist at Elmhurst Hospital, and I'm so glad that you've all come to this vigil for healthcare workers in Palestine. We want to start meeting each other and forming a community among healthcare workers who are standing in solidarity with nurses and doctors and other people who take care of others who are being deliberately targeted with the complicity of our elected officials and with our government. This issue is particularly important to me because I work for Doctors Without Borders, and I worked in Shifa Hospital in 2018 and 2019. I worked in Nasser Hospital, I worked in Aqsa Hospital, and many of the people that I crossed paths with and worked side by side with have been disappeared. I don't know what's happened to them. Some of them have managed to escape, most have not. They're all displaced, and many of them are still working without being paid. So just like we do every day, taking care of people it's a calling. It's more than a job. And the people who take care of the tsunami of injured patients in Gaza are still showing up to the European hospital and the semi-functional few hospitals left in Gaza. But most of them have been destroyed on purpose. And that's with our tax dollars and our complicity. And so I think it's important that we all start talking to each other and sharing information and speaking the truth about what's happening and reaching out to Palestinian people to find out how we can help them. And the main way we can do that is by voting. That's necessary, it's not sufficient. You also have to call your elected officials, and you have to take action like this, like meeting your neighbors and talking to them about why we're not going to accept that our tax dollars are going to vaporize whole city blocks or bomb hospitals and raid them and keep people under siege, starve them, prevent them from accessing clean water, cut off their power supply, and not let them leave. That's inhumane. It's a crime against humanity. And I think healthcare workers especially have to call out the targeting of healthcare workers in Gaza. So thank you everyone for coming. The main purpose of this is to mourn the more than 500 healthcare workers who are estimated to have been killed during this part of the conflict. Let's also recognize this conflict has been going on long before the atrocities on October 7th, which none of us condone and all of us condemn. But let's also condemn the 50,000 civilians who have been killed since, who are mostly children. mostly children who, when they're injured, show up to a hospital that looks like this, that is unable to take care of them. On this card, there's a QR code that links to a video with some trauma surgeons, Feroz Sidwa and Mark Perlmutter, who have just returned from Rafah. Mark Perlmutter was the president of the International College of Surgeons, and he describes what he saw and the massive wave of seriously injured patients, far greater than could ever be taken care of by the Gaza Health Service. So I'd encourage you to look at that and to educate yourself and share with your neighbors. So I'm glad to meet you all. I'd really like to talk to you and share what I've experienced as a MSF worker in Gaza. And let's stay in touch.